clap. That was the thing when they do the movies and the welcome to the instant. That's not going to be a thing we're going to start in 2016. Oh well. Welcome to the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that is always an instant classic, and that's right. It is 2016. It feels a lot like 2015, but more 16-ish. But anyway, congratulations to the 2000s. They finally hit their Sweet 16. I like to think of it as the 2000s Sweet 16. So it's old enough to be hot, but you'll still go to jail. So we have the best of NXT 2015 Part 1. I don't think WWE thought this through because Part 2 is going to be in 2016. I don't know. But, we right off the bat, we see some new updates and changes. They changed the opening video thing, and they updated the song a little bit. I liked it. I don't know your thoughts. Did you notice it at all? The change?
I don't know if it was much of a change. I mean, obviously they had the newer superstars on there, but I don't know if the song changed. I just feel like they played more of it. They just played the whole song, which I was happy about because I like that song. I heard it all the time during Who's Got NXT mode on PS3 from WWE 2K last year. So I was like, yeah, I like this song.
So like we said, it's best of NXT 2015. What WWE thinks is the best of NXT 2015, which you can't go wrong because it's NXT. So they start off back at TakeOver Our Evolution for Kevin Owens' debut. Then Sami Zayn winning the NXT title and Owens turning on him. Then they show a little bit of Sami Zayn versus Owens at Rival, which was kind of cool. I like that they started off with this because personally, I think this was the best feud of the year. I think it was definitely the most anticipated feud when Kevin Owens finally did debut in WWE because fans that knew of them before they were in WWE, they've seen, all the storylines that they've gone through where, they've been tag team partners, they've been best friends, and then they've been bitter enemies in Ring of Honor. So they've kind of seen it, and it was just kind of cool if you already had seen them in matches together. It was just kind of cool seeing them in matches in WWE, just that little bit of a change. Not a lot about their matches changed, but just the fact that it was in WWE makes it, that much better to some people. I still think Ring of Honor is better. But any thoughts on this best of?
I agree. I agree with that. But this was probably the best feud of the year. Probably in general, just the storyline of it was good. Obviously, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, within themselves are really good, in all aspects. I really want this feud to carry over. Every time I do this best of 2015s, I always think of 2016 too, and more so I think of it as I'm talking about it. But I hope this goes into a main roster feud. I think this could be a really good main roster feud, especially with the amount of time that's given, with pay-per-views and even Raw, you could say. It would give them a lot of time to kind of work with each other and go with each other. It seems like WWE is starting to be a little bit more edgier now. So, and with these two guys, you don't necessarily need it, but you kind of somewhat need it, just because Kevin Owens, his character, the way he comes off, if you let him be himself, you're pretty much good. with him. Um, I I saw when Sami Zayn actually won the title, the guy in the front row in the what was it? Paul Heyman shirt in the front row was hype. Like, I mean, he was like I think it was Mojo Rawley in a Paul Heyman shirt. I think it might have been. He was excited. And then the Kevin Owens feud and the turn and whatnot. I remember watching it and I felt like something was gonna go down, but I think I still was surprised. I didn't know if I didn't expect him to turn that soon because it was just his first night, and I thought this was cool. It took a new a new look at NXT, like a new face with NXT, because like NXT for the longest time had been, you hold the title for a long time. You hold the title, you're the longest reigning champion. The next guy holds the title, he's the longest reigning champion. Next guy, it was just like that kind of same thing over and over again. And although we were getting good matches, we weren't getting any differences in storyline, which I think with these two guys, we got a little bit of a difference, especially with Kevin Owens winning in his, I think, second TakeOver match. So, this was a good way to. I can't remember if this exactly started off the year or not, because it's been a long year, but I do feel like this was one of the best feuds. I hope they carry it over. That would be a good way of getting Sami Zayn into the main roster, like logically and everything, because they do talk about the NXT stuff, but they'll talk about it, 1/1/2017. Sami Zayn will come up. He'll be like, you took me out like a year ago. Like they do that all the time with the NXT guys. Like they'll bring up stuff from like a year ago, and I'm like, why are you bringing this up now when you could have brought it up like a long time ago? So hopefully they'll do that, because I feel like it's a good way to bring Sami Zayn up, because like we've said before in previous videos, I don't know what else he has left to give to NXT. I think we're ready for him on the main roster, and regardless, he's going to be good on the main roster. Especially if they put him in a feud with Owens to start out.
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to be good on the main roster as long as they, keep using talented guys well from NXT on the main roster. Again, there's that exception with Neville where they kind of dropped the ball, I feel like, a little bit. But next, we went back to Unstoppable, where Hideo Itami was attacked by an unknown assailant named Kevin Owens and taken out of the triple threat match for the number one contendership, making it a one-on-one between Finn Balor and Tyler Breeze, which turned out to be a really good match. I feel like this was where we kind of, we had liked Tyler Breeze and we saw something special in him, but I think this is kind of one of the matches where he really kind of broke out and really showed what he can do. And we were really impressed with him. But any thoughts on this? I'm sitting down again because I was hurting on my knees and stuff.
Hideo gets hurt. That's a shame. As Kevin Owens said as he walked past, what a shame. And I think they just need to have him do stuff like that, like just little stuff. The little stuff would helps Kevin Owens out. Just he comes off the way he comes off naturally. I think when Hideo had got hurt, we didn't expect him to be hurt for that long. I think we were both thinking it was really even Justin, because I think he was on when we were doing this review too. We all felt like it was going to be like a minor injury, and it kept him out for like the majority of the year. I can't remember exactly when Unstoppable was. I think it was like probably March or April, something like that.
I think he's still out.
Yeah, he's still out, but I didn't think it was that serious. And maybe it was like a similar situation to what Sami Zayn had, or something like that, where it takes you a while to recover. No, but anyway, I want to see Hideo come back. I love Hideo. I think he gets overshadowed sometimes with because he got paired up with Finn and everybody loves Finn. And plus he's a Japanese wrestler and they always, for some reason, WWE get overshadowed. So, I hope they do something with him. He got a chance, and it wasn't. It had to be in April, had to be April or May, because he was in WrestleMania. He was in the WrestleMania Battle Royal. So they have some. It seems like big plans for him. I'm just wondering what they're gonna do with him, and maybe like he hasn't came back because he's gonna be in the Rumble again or something, or the actual Rumble, not the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and that would be cool. It would be cool to see a couple of call ups from NXT in the Rumble this year, because I just feel like last year's Rumble, and not, I know we're talking about NXT, but last year's Rumble was underwhelming, and I feel like with some NXT guys debuting that need to debut, I think it would be a good thing.
Yeah, I feel like last year's Rumble, I think it was so underwhelming because we were waiting for a bunch of NXT guys to come up or at least be featured on it, even if it wasn't an official call up, you know. Um, but anyway, next, they showed a preview of a never before televised match at the Arnold Classic between Cesaro and Neville. Looks like it's going to be an exciting match. It's going to be on the very best of NXT DVD coming out, which I'm excited about to see what non-televised matches are going to be on there, because they said there's going to be a bunch of never before seen matches on there. So I'm excited to see what that DVD has in store. Any thoughts on this little preview of the match? They only showed a little bit of it. But...
Yeah, first off, don't buy the DVD. Just because they're probably going to put it on the network in 6 months. The same thing they did with Paul Heyman's DVD. They want to get the DVD sales, but they're probably going to end up putting it on the network, because I was surprised when Paul Heyman's DVD was on the network so soon. You can get the DVD, but I'm just saying, probably. I was excited about this, and once again, this is one of those things we kind of wish that's on the network and it's not, because they obviously have recordings of these matches. So why can't they put them on the network? Obviously, they're looking for DVD sales for this one, but like kind of the same thing with house shows and stuff like that. Like some of them, you don't have to put every single one of them ever on there, but I feel like it would be cool to see, some of them on the network. I don't know. I was excited because I didn't think they were going to show the match, so I was kind of like, it kind of leaves a lot to be desired, so because I didn't think they were going to actually show the any part of the match at all. So, I thought it was a pretty cool little thing. It's cool to see. They were still using at that time Cesaro and NXT. Just at times, bringing him down.
Yeah. So next they showcased a little bit of the four horsewomen, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, Charlotte, and Bayley, which is kind of cool. They kind of, if you didn't know how that was kind of started, they kind of explained it a little bit after their Fatal 4-Way match. There was a picture taken where they all did the Four Horsemen symbol hand thing, and it kind of started calling them the Four Horsewomen, which is kind of cool. And they were kind of the four kind of leaders of the women's division in NXT that kind of set the bar, which is kind of cool. So any thoughts on that?
One thing I wish they would have did instead of the Divas Revolution, at the time it was a cool moment and it was a fun little thing, but it got all convoluted there at the end, or there at the now. I feel like they should have did the Four Horsewomen thing in some way. Maybe they come out, maybe Nikki Bella's out there and she's talking about how she's the greatest and whatnot, and the Four Horsewomen come out and they attack her or something. The only thing is, I'm always thinking if they would have did this and they would have attacked someone, it would have felt heelish. But maybe they could have had them attack, the Bellas, and then turn on each other and kind of go after each other as like the Divas title is kind of sitting in the middle of the ring or something. I just feel like they could have did something with the Four Horsewomen just because I felt like it would have made it a little bit less confusing with all these factions going for one title. Because if you have them turn on each other, they're like, okay, there's still respect there, but they all want that title. I don't know. I don't understand why they didn't, bring them all up at the same time. I get it. They wanted to give Bailey a chance with the title, maybe get her some more exposure, having a title. But I feel like, they could have waited on the call ups and then, had the Four Horsemen women debut. I think that would have been cooler. I think people would have liked it a little bit more. And it would have had more longevity.
Yeah, and I think that would have eliminated them doing the stupid Team PCB, Team Bad, Team Bella thing, which
because now where do you go now? Like there's all these teams fighting for that one. Like if you had the four, even if they didn't like turn in and start fighting, like they turn in, they all look at the title, and maybe they hold the four or something. Just something, because obviously the majority of the main roster fans are NXT fans, so they get it, they understand, and even if you're not, you're kind of like, well, what's that? What's going on then? I think it would have been a cooler moment, and having them turn against each other could have been something that could have just continued to build as they went with it.
Yeah. So moving on, we go to the last 5 minutes in the Iron Women match at Takeover Respect. I remember we wanted this to either be a draw or go into overtime so bad. I remember being really mad when Sasha tapped out at the last, like literally the last second, because I felt like it made her look weak, and I don't think they should have done that. I think they should have either done just a draw or maybe added 5 more minutes, something like that. But I just didn't like how they did it, but it was still a really good match. It was still, history making, the first ever Iron Women match, the first ever main event Divas women's match in WWE, which was cool for a pay-per-view. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. It was one of the best matches of the year. Especially in the division for WWE anyone. I feel like this should have been a draw. And even if they gave him 5 more minutes, still could have been a draw. Because if they were going to go with the fact, like now come to think about it, if we're continuing the storyline to deal with the Divas Revolution, if it leaves much more to be desired. You have a draw. You can even do 5 more minutes, still have a draw. And then the fans are like, well, does the feud end here? Does the feud end here? Sasha goes up to the main roster, Bayley stays in NXT, and then the fans still want that match, and they know it's going to come eventually, but you kind of have to wait for it, which kind of, patience a lot of times, makes you appreciate it a little bit more. So I feel like if it would have ended in a draw, it would have been a kind of a cool moment. Bayley still keeps the title, still makes Sasha look strong, and then, the feud still technically kind of going on, and they could have continued it with the, on the main roster, I think would have been cool.
Yeah. And next we saw some of the big debuts in NXT in 2015. We saw the forming of the Hype Bros. We saw the surprise debut of Rhino, James Storm, and Samoa Joe. Basically the debut of TNA. If you think about it. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I like this. I don't know what's my favorite debut of the year though. Come to think about it, because there weren't any that were like really surprising, because I kind of knew that these guys were going to debut before they debuted. I think if I think about my favorite one from this year, I think Finn debuted this year too. So he might have been I think I can't remember, or last year.
Yeah. It was 2014.
Was it 2014? Darn it. 2014, 2015. They should be the same year in my mind. I feel like I think my favorite one was probably Samoa Joe. I didn't see James Storm's debut, so I didn't get to see that one. So I think my favorite one was probably Samoa Joe. It was cool to see him in WWE.
Yeah. I think my favorite was James Storm just because it was one of those ones that, with him being a TNA original, you kind of, part of you never thought you would see him in WWE. Kind of like a lot of people don't think we'll ever see like AJ Styles in WWE, but there's always rumors that he's going to come or whatever. And I think it adds to it with James Storm anyway, that just the fact that since his debut, we really haven't seen him. So it kind of builds up that, like, it still hasn't set in yet that, he's actually in WWE. So, I mean, hopefully we will be seeing him more now that kind of all of his storylines in TNA are basically over now. So they can officially kind of, forget about that, I guess. Not forget about it, but, kind of, officially move him over to officially WWE and see what they're going to do with him. Because we're still not sure. There wasn't much character development so far with him. It was just, his debut. I think he had 2 matches. But anyway, next we see Samoa Joe versus Baron Corbin, can't fall out of a ring, at TakeOver Brooklyn, where we finally, I think this was one of our favorite Baron Corbin matches just because it was a match where we finally saw that, Baron could go in a match more than 30 seconds. Before that, he'd always been in, quick jobber matches that lasted maybe a minute, if that. And, we were always, we knew there was something there special about him, but until you can see that he can go in, a 15, 20-minute match or longer, there wasn't anything to really go on. And seeing him in a match with a guy like a Rhino, a guy that we know about, we know Rhino's history. We know it wasn't just another jobber that we don't really know anything about. It was, or not Rhino, Samoa Joe, my bad. But it was a guy that we knew, so an established guy. So we knew he could kind of hold his own. I think that was good for him, and it was good for the fans to finally see a good match out of him. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I know we both were excited about this match because we got to see, like you said, see Baron Corbin and I feel like I'm repeating you and I don't mean to, but
Hey, Justin,
shut up. I do think in 2016 I want to see Baron Corbin get the mic a little bit more, talk a little bit more, because I think he's got, I think he has good mic skills, but I think they don't get exposed enough. He doesn't get a chance to kind of be himself, and I feel like that's kind of the issue with NXT being a phenomenon and kind of being like as big as it is and as popular as it is that you don't put as much trust in these guys anymore because it's so big. Like if you think about it with FCW, you had the smaller crowd, so you can give someone the mic, you can let them mess up, and then teach them how to improve just because the crowd was small. And they could mess up, obviously not a huge mess up, but they can mess up a little bit, and you could be like, okay, so the issue was this. But like with the bigger crowds and like the more exposure, I feel like it's kind of hard for them to do that because it's kind of like Raw. They don't send somebody out there to cut a stupid promo, or well, sometimes they do. They don't send people out there to cut people. They don't send people who can't truly or who are not comfortable cutting promos out there, are not comfortable cutting promos out there, because it's such a big stage. And I think that's kind of the issue with NXT. It's getting so big that they don't really trust these guys. Like even Apollo Crews, he doesn't get to talk a lot, and I'm like, I know we don't want like these huge promos, but I feel like it would be kind of nice to see some of these guys talk, because we can't you can't dive into someone's character unless they talk. It's kind of like my first true exposure to Kevin Owens was in WWE, and I wouldn't know how good he is on the mic if he never talked. So even that kind of started with NXT too. So I just want to see these guys talk a little bit more, and kind of build on their characters that way too. Because I mean, it's still developmental, but it's growing. It is growing, but it's developmental too. So you still got to work on them.
And this is where I sort of disagree with you a little bit, because I still don't think that every single wrestler ever needs to have good mic skills in order to, develop their character. And I'm going to show my age a little bit because you're a youngin, and you didn't grow up in the Attitude Era, but
I did though. I'm not that young.
I mean, there was guys like, Ken Shamrock, Gangrel, a bunch of other guys who didn't really talk much on the mic, but you knew their character, you knew what they were about, and I think that kind of gives a little bit of credit to the commentary team back then that was better at, conveying, the wrestlers to you. Now you just have that idiot Michael Cole being an idiot.
I agree with that, because you had guys like Undertaker and Kane who were monsters and weren't supposed to talk.
Yeah. And I mean, Kane or Undertaker, and Kane, both at times had Paul Bearer, a manager. This is why I don't understand. This is why I don't understand why NXT doesn't have managers. That's the one thing that blows my mind, is they don't have managers. It doesn't make sense. I mean, I think they even train referees in NXT. So why don't you train? I don't know. I don't understand. I don't get it. But next, it's gonna get intense right now, because they showed again the infamous match where the jealous, brash John Cena intentionally injured the young Sami Zayn. Intentional. You saw it. Everybody saw it. And he was so young, and his career was just budding. And John Cena, he couldn't handle it. He couldn't take it. He intentionally injured that man's shoulder. But don't worry, he's back now. He's back. But it took so many months out of his career, and the pain and emotional stress that he had to go through because of John Cena's negligence and jealousy. I know you have thoughts, but I think we should just move on, because this is just too heart-wrenching.
We should.
Do you have any thoughts on this match?
No, I don't.
See, you're heartbroken too. That John Cena. But next, we get a little bit of retribution, because we see John Cena versus Kevin Owens at Elimination Chamber. I like that they had this. They featured this match, but I wasn't really sure if this would technically be considered the best of NXT, because yes, it had the NXT champion, but it wasn't an NXT show, so it was kind of like, I don't know. But it was a really good match. John Cena lost, so it was a really good match. And it was at Elimination Chamber, and John Cena lost. And it was a good match. I don't know if I mentioned it, but John Cena lost. Any thoughts on this match where John Cena lost? I
think instead of showing this match, they should have just shown, because let's be honest. The best moment in NXT this year was Beast in the East. I mean, let's be real. Like that's what I mean. You know, the entire show. They should have just canceled out like everything they showed tonight and just showed Beast in the East. I think it would be a good idea. You know, good marketing move for WWE. You know, Beast in the. I think it's a good idea. I know there's at least one commentator, one commenter that could say, "Hey, Beast in the East, greatest show of all time."
No, it wasn't. No.
And who could also? That the light heavyweight championship is the most prestigious championship ever.
With that being said, in such an incorrect fashion, that was our review of the best of NXT 2015, part uno. Not Tigre Uno, part uno. So I guess we're going to get part 2 next year. Well, this year now, but it was supposed to be last year because it's the best of 2015, but now it's 2016.
I got to wait a whole year for part 2.
I know. Well, I mean, you did last year, but now you don't have to anymore. But because we were supposed to do this video last year, but somebody made me wait till this year because we were waiting for Justin, and he made us wait till this year for a video last year.
Blame Justin. Blame Juggernaut 097, whatever his thing is.
09179.
People watching, blame him. Go blame him now. True JSB, I don't know what his stuff is. Go be like, it's all your fault.
Yeah.
You ruined the ICW.
But anyway, while you do that, we will see you on the flippity dippity. Oh.
Also.
Yeah. Oh, wait, whoa.
I got one more thing, because I don't want to end it on flippity. Oh, no. Oh, no. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Because Casey never tells you to subscribe. And, you know, I mean,
you should already know.
You know, I think Casey doesn't care about you guys, and I do. I do. You know. And also, Happy New Year to everyone who's celebrating a new year. It should be New Year pretty much everywhere by now, hopefully. At least close. At least, like.
Except for California. Close. It's not.
Well, California, you know, you're not a good state. Anyway, Casey, you got anything else to say? Please, not dip or flips.
Later today, the first day of the 16th year of the 2000s, we have a special guest, and you will see him later. And
it's not Justin.
It's not Justin. It's not Justin. It's not Rabbit. It's not Josh. It's not I can't think of anyone else that's been on the show at this moment right now. But it's some cool guys. If you looked on our Twitter, you know. But if you didn't look on our Twitter, then you don't know. And you should look at our Twitter. And while you're on our Twitter, you should follow us on Twitter and then retweet everything that we ever post ever. Because that would be awesome. Even if it's something stupid, you should still retweet it. And, you know, favorite it. And, you know, like it. And subscribe. And follow. And tweet. And Instagram. And Twitter. And all that other stuff. From anyway, we will see you on the flippity dippity. I still got it. I get it every time. Oh yeah.